Today I'm going to make a video about how to pick a master's, or how to even decide if you want to do a master's in the first place. That's sort of a process that I had to go through last year. Around this time, I guess, I was starting to apply for masters. I wanted to try a sit-down video style and kind of got off to a rough start this morning because my camera won't turn on, and I'm really hoping that it's due to the battery. It's charging right now. So I'm filming this on my phone. But yeah, hopefully my new mic is working and the audio on this is going to be good, at least, even if the video might not be. Thanks for coming back to my channel. I know that, if you are watching these videos regularly, they're very random at the moment in terms of content and style, but I'm just trying to figure out what type of thing I like to make most and just playing around with it. So bear with me. I just split this video into a bunch of steps of how to try to choose your master's, and I'll explain a bit of my story along the way as well. So the first thing is, do you even want to do a master? If you're in your last year of your bachelor's degree, or maybe you're working already and you're thinking about going back to school, people in your life might be expecting you to do a master's or hinting at the fact that you should be thinking about it. Your peers might be applying for master's degrees. While I do think it's probably not a bad idea to do a master's, it's worth thinking about if it's the right thing for you, and I don't think you should feel pressured by people around you to just follow this career path because it's maybe a default in your circles. It was a default in my circles. Most people that I know are either doing a master's degree now or at least plan to do one in the future. It was hard for me to consider options where I didn't do a master's. I do neuroscience, and within kind of the science industry, it's often required to have at least a master's degree, if not a PhD, depending on what career you're trying to do. So it was always very clear to me that I would probably do a master's degree. And because I had done so much neuroscience at undergrad, I knew that I would be most qualified for that degree, so that's the degrees that I ended up applying for. So the second thing to think about, in my opinion, is what is your time budget and what is your money budget? So I've sort of already mentioned this in my Indonesia travel video that I posted last week, but there are master's degrees that take a year or 2 years, maybe even longer, and money-wise, it can vary from being nearly free to costing you 30K or more. So it's really worth thinking about what you can spend, and if you want to take out a loan for this, or if you have savings, if your family will support you, if you want to work for a year or two first to save up to be able to do this. Maybe you can even get your employer to pay for you to do this master's degree. Those two parameters are probably the most kind of important ones. And then a third thing to think about in terms of the logistics is, where do you want to live next year? Do you like the city that you went to undergrad in, or do you want to move away? Do you want to stick around with your college friends, move back to your high school friends, try out a new country even? For me, I definitely wanted to try out something new after Amsterdam. Even though I loved it there, I was there for 3 years, so I wanted to go somewhere kind of new, but still a city and not too far from everybody I knew, so London seemed like a good option. My next main point is make a list of goals for your master's. Sit down and think about, without anybody else's input, what do you want to get out of that year or two? Do you want to deepen your knowledge on the subjects you studied at undergrad, like I did? Do you want to change direction and try to pivot into a completely different career path? Do you want to study to increase your chances of getting a job later on, but you also want to have enough time to focus on your creative pursuits? Then maybe you want to choose a master's that isn't too much work. Do you know of a specific job that you want, and therefore there are master's degrees that you need to do to qualify for those? I definitely made a list, or probably more than a list, like this when I was trying to choose what to do. I'm a big list-making person, as my friends will attest to. And I think for me the main things were that I wanted to gain some more experience in academic neuroscience, do some neuroscience research, for which UCL was a very good school, and I wanted to live in a fun city. Those were, I think, my 3 main things. I wanted to have enough time to sort of enjoy London and dance a lot outside of university and that sort of thing, and be in a place where it wouldn't be too difficult to meet people. Then the next thing you can think about after you know what you want is to think about what is out there. So what type of master's do you want to do? Do you want to do a master's that is mainly taught, or mainly research. A lot of masters have a large research component depending on, I guess, what discipline you're working in. Do you want to fund it? Do you think you have to fund it yourself? Are there any scholarships available for you, or are you already working in a job where your employer might sponsor this master's degree for you? What country do you want to live in? Depending on the country, the education system might differ and the style of master's degrees could be different. I, for example, applied to, I think, 8 masters at least. I applied to a lot of masters. I think it was a bit unnecessary to apply to that many, but I did apply to some in Sweden, in England, in Scotland, in the Netherlands, and in Germany. Of course, to organize your thoughts, I think it's a great idea to start an Excel sheet and just really note down all of the programs that you can find that are in the range of what you would be looking for, and write down where they're located, how many years it takes, what the acceptance rate is, what the deadline to apply is. Because, for example, for the UK schools, the deadlines were around January to March of my final year of my bachelor's degree if I wanted to study in the fall. So that's relatively early on to European students probably. So that's good to think about. And then once you're sort of looking into specific programs, I think it's definitely worthwhile to try to get more information than just what the website says. So maybe find alumni of that school on LinkedIn, try to talk to them, go to the open day if there are open days, email the professors or potential research supervisors and ask for a Zoom call with them. Go on their website and use a chat function that some universities have to talk to students. It's just really great to sort of get a feel for the community at that school and the types of people that tend to be in your program, because after all, those will be the people that you will be studying with, and to me that always makes a big difference. I had a bunch of interviews for master's degrees as well, and that also helped to sort of get a feel for the teachers at that school. And then once you've sort of had your list and you've figured out where you want to study and possibly talk to people on the program, it's time to actually apply, which is, for a lot of people, probably not your favorite part. One tip I can give you for this is make connections in your bachelor's program early, because you will need their help for writing recommendation letters, probably. And then you probably have to write a personal statement. And one of the best things that I did for my personal statement, I can't remember if it was my boyfriend at the time or my mother, but one of the two suggested to me, I think it was my mother, to write a story. So instead of writing a personal statement and thinking about it as such, she told me, write a story about why you want to do this. And I wrote a story, and obviously it was very kind of poetic and creative and not academic enough to be sent in as a personal statement. But it really helped me hone in on, why do I really want to do this? It's sort of an honest opinion of my real motivation for the master's program, and it was a lot more interesting to read than the other personal statements, drafts that I had written before this. So I would really recommend that approach. Then after I wrote that story, I went back and I changed some sentences and took out some sentences to make it sound a bit more kind of factual. But yeah, I think that made my personal statement so much better than it was before, and probably a lot more convincing to read as an admissions committee as well. Another thing I have to say about applying is, in the past, applying for programs has really helped me figure out if I even want to go to this school. I always have quite a hard time picking a program. At undergraduate, I was choosing between St. Andrews and the school I went to in Amsterdam in the end, and it was so hard for me to decide. And one of the best things was really going to both schools and seeing both cities and meeting students, and just the process of applying sort of helps you figure out, do you have enough motivation to write a personal statement to get into this program in the first place? And in an interview, if somebody asks you, Eleanor, why do you want to go to this school? Do you have an honest answer? And if you don't, then I think it's worth thinking about if that program is even the right choice for you. Once you've applied and you're just waiting around for those acceptances or rejections, I think just focus on other things, live your life, don't focus on waiting for those answers too much. And also, don't be too discouraged if you get a rejection. I was definitely quite disappointed about some of the rejections that I got. So basically I applied to Oxford, Cambridge, Karolinska Institute in Sweden, TUM in Munich in Germany, the Free University in the Netherlands, which is in Amsterdam, and then UCL for 2 different programs, and University of Edinburgh for a program, and University of St. Andrews. So I think that's 8 programs. I probably am forgetting 1 or 2, but either way, I didn't get into Oxford or Cambridge, and I know it sounds sort of entitled maybe, but I did tick all the boxes on their admissions, on the requirements. Like I felt like I was a shoo-in, and then I didn't get in. And that's okay. At the time it felt quite unfair, but I think you really just have to believe, at least this is my strategy now, that if they didn't pick you, it's because they weren't right for you, not because you weren't right for them. So it sounds very cliche, but in my undergraduate application rounds, I didn't get into Cambridge either. And at the time I was really disappointed, but now looking back, I'm really glad I didn't, because I ended up going to Amsterdam because of that. And I had the best time, and I wouldn't have changed that for the world now looking back. So I think there's something to be said. Also, rejection makes you stronger, I guess. I don't know. But yeah. I think it's just a good strategy in either case to apply for at least a couple schools so that you have a chance of getting in somewhere, hopefully. So then, once you got in, you have to decide on the school, and like I said before, make some lists, make some pro and con lists of why you would want to go to that school or not. And in addition to that, look at your priority or goal list again that you made at the start of this process, hopefully, and see what was important to you then, without the cloud of fog of what you actually got into and what you didn't, and the school's reputation and where your parents want you to go. If you look at your goals, which school most matched up with that? It's definitely tempting to choose the school that is the hardest to get into. Like at undergrad, I was tempted to go St. Andrews because it's a really good school, instead of going to the University of Amsterdam, which is still a great school, but less prestigious. But in the end, the University of Amsterdam was just a better fit for me, regardless of St. Andrews' reputation, and I'm really glad I chose it. And the last thing is just go with your gut feeling. I think you can make lists, and you should be informed, and really try to make sort of a rational decision initially, but the final say, in my mind, should be just a gut instinct of what feels right. If you're, signing your acceptance letter on the line and it says you're gonna go to the University of Switzerland, that's not a university, you're gonna go to university in Berlin next year. Does that sound amazing to you, or does that sound scary? Does the program sound interesting? Does it not? Do you want to go? If I put you on a plane today, would you be excited? Those sorts of things. And then finally, once you've decided where you're going to go for your master's degree, you probably still have a little bit of your bachelor's degree left to finish if you're still at school, and make sure that you have a relaxing summer. I cannot recommend this enough. I definitely underestimated how tough it would be to go straight from undergrad to postgrad, and I did have a really long summer, and I traveled, and I didn't do any work, and I think that was really valuable and necessary in this case, because if you're heading straight from one academic degree to the next, you'll probably get burnt out quite quickly, which you might do anyway because it is a lot of work. But yeah, having a relaxing summer with less pressure to perform in a career or academic setting where you're focusing on your friends, what you like to do. Maybe you just read books all summer or go traveling like I did. Get a summer job that isn't too stressful. Yeah, just take some time for yourself and sort of process your undergraduate college years. Okay, so that was a bit of a quick rundown of how I would go about applying for a master's degree. I ended up at UCL in London, as you probably know if you've watched my other videos. I'm really happy here so far. The first 2 months were kind of rough, and then it's been steadily getting better, and now I really love it. And I could definitely see myself doing other things too. It's not like I think that this was the perfect choice and if I had chosen anything else I wouldn't be this happy. But it was one of the things on my list, and in the end it was kind of a gut feeling decision for me after a lot of list making. And I'm just really glad I'm here, and I hope that you find a degree that matches up with your interests and goals as well, and that you don't feel too pressured by anyone in your life to do things a certain way. I don't think you have to do a master's degree to succeed, whatever that means. I think there's so many other ways to learn and to progress and to get a good job. But if it's something you're considering, I hope that this video helped you out. So thank you again for watching another one of my videos. I hope the video is okay and the audio is okay, and I hope you're back soon for possibly another travel video or a dance video or something else. You never know. Bye!